What would you do if your house was filling with smoke? The fire alarm was screaming, and the one person you trust most suddenly tells you not to leave. Think about that for a second, because this story begins on what was supposed to be a completely ordinary Tuesday night. But before we continue, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell for updates. 15-year-old Lena Carter was sitting on the floor of her bedroom at around 8:17 p.m., her math homework spread across the carpet. The TV downstairs was playing quietly, and her mom, Marissa Carter, 38, had been moving around the kitchen like she always did after dinner. Nothing unusual, nothing alarming. Then the fire alarm exploded into the silence. Not a small chirp, not a quick beep, a full screaming alarm echoing through the house. At first, Lena barely reacted. If you've ever had a smoke alarm go off because someone burned toast, you know the feeling, annoying but normal. But then she noticed something strange. A smell, sharp, thick, bitter, smoke. And it wasn't coming from downstairs the way she expected. It was creeping under her bedroom door, spreading slowly across the floor like a fog. Now here's the strange part. When Lena ran downstairs looking for her mom, she expected panic. Instead, she got something else entirely. Because when Marissa Carter turned and looked at her daughter, she calmly said 4 words that Lena would never forget. "You're not leaving." And what happened after that made the entire situation far more disturbing. Because the strange part about that night wasn't just the fire. It was how calm Lena's mother seemed while it was happening. When Lena reached the bottom of the stairs, the alarm was still screaming through the house. That sharp, piercing sound that makes your heart race instantly, the kind that tells you something is seriously wrong. Smoke drifted across the ceiling of the living room now, thin at first but spreading quickly. Lena's chest tightened. "Mom, there's smoke," she said, her voice already shaky. Marissa Carter was standing near the kitchen entrance. Not running, not grabbing anything, just standing there. And when she turned to look at Lena, her face didn't show panic. It was almost blank. "You're not leaving," she said. No explanation, no urgency, just those 4 words. Now pause for a moment. Imagine hearing that while the fire alarm is blasting and smoke is filling the house. Most parents would be dragging their kid outside immediately, right? But Marissa didn't move toward the door. She didn't grab Lena's hand. Instead, she turned around and calmly walked down the hallway toward the front entrance. For a second, Lena just stood there, confused. Maybe her mom was going to unlock the door. Maybe she was grabbing something. But then Lena heard the sound. Click. The front door shutting, and the deadbolt sliding into place. Her mom had just closed the door. From the outside. Suddenly, Lena felt the air getting heavier. Smoke thickened in the hallway and burned the back of her throat. Something about this wasn't just strange anymore. It was terrifying, because the only person who should have been helping her escape had just walked out and locked the door. But what Lena didn't realize yet was that she wasn't the only person outside that house watching the smoke rise into the night, and someone else was about to get involved. By this point, Lena wasn't just scared of the fire. She was starting to feel scared of her own mother. The moment Lena heard the deadbolt slide into place, something inside her shifted from confusion to pure panic. "Mom!" she shouted, running to the front door. She grabbed the knob and twisted it hard, locked. She pulled again, harder this time. Nothing. Her heart started pounding so loudly it almost drowned out the fire alarm still screaming through the house. Smoke was thicker now, drifting lower from the ceiling and spreading across the living room. Lena pounded on the door. "Mom, open the door!" No response. That's when the coughing started. Sharp. Sudden. Her throat burned with every breath, and her eyes watered as the smoke crept deeper into the house. Think about that moment. You're 15 years old. Your house might be on fire, and the only adult who can help you just walked outside and locked the door. What would you do? Lena did the only thing she could think of. She ran to the kitchen. The back door. Maybe that one was open. She rushed across the room, nearly slipping on the tile as the alarm echoed overhead. When she reached the door, she grabbed the handle and yanked it down. Locked. Her stomach dropped. She tried the deadbolt, also locked. Now the panic hit full force. Why would she lock both doors? Lena whispered to herself, her voice cracking. Then another memory flashed in her mind. Earlier that evening, she had seen her mom coming up from the basement carrying a small cardboard box. Lena had asked what it was. Marissa had answered quickly. Cleaning stuff. But the smell in the air right now didn't smell like food burning. It smelled chemical, sharp, unnatural. And suddenly Lena began to wonder something she had never imagined before. Was this actually an accident? Or had someone started the fire? But before Lena could process that thought any further, a loud sound suddenly echoed from the front of the house. Bang! Then again. Bang, bang, bang! Someone was pounding on the front door, and a man's voice shouted through the wood, "Is anyone in there?" Hope rushed through Lena like electricity, but what she heard next stopped her cold. Because outside the door, she heard her mother's voice. And what Lena heard through that door made even less sense than the fire itself. She ran toward the front of the house as the pounding continued. Bang, bang, bang! "Is anyone inside?" the man shouted again. Lena could hear the urgency in his voice now. Authority. Someone used to giving orders. But before she could answer, another voice cut in. Her mother's. Muffled through the door, but unmistakable. "Ma'am, step back, please," the man said. Lena pressed closer to the door, coughing as smoke drifted down the hallway. Her lungs burned. Every breath felt heavier than the last. Then she heard the man again. "Is anyone else inside the house?" There was a short pause. Just a second or two. But in moments like that, seconds feel like minutes. And then Marissa Carter answered. "No." Lena froze. Her own mother had just told whoever was outside that no one else was in the house. No one. Not her. Not the 15-year-old girl standing on the other side of the door, struggling to breathe. For a moment, Lena couldn't even move. Her brain was trying to process what she'd just heard. Maybe her mom didn't understand the question. Maybe she panicked. Maybe she thought Lena had already escaped. But then Lena started pounding on the door with everything she had. "Help! I'm in here!" Her fists slammed against the wood again and again, but the fire alarm was still blaring, and the smoke detector's piercing screams swallowed her voice. Outside, the man spoke again. "All right, ma'am. Firefighters are on the way. You need to move farther back." Lena felt a wave of desperation crash over her. If he walked away now, no one would know she was inside. Then suddenly the pounding stopped. There was silence for a split second, and then the man shouted something that changed everything. "Wait, hold on!" Another loud thud hit the door, harder this time. "Someone's inside!" Hope exploded in Lena's chest, but just as the man prepared to force the door open, her mother said something that made the moment even more chilling. "Wait!" The moment Officer Daniel Ruiz heard something moving inside the house, his instincts kicked in immediately. "Someone's in there!" he shouted. Without waiting another second, he stepped back and slammed his shoulder into the front door. The wood cracked but didn't give. Behind it, Lena was still coughing, her chest tightening as smoke filled the hallway. Her legs felt weak now. The air was thick and hot, and every breath scraped her throat. Outside, Ruiz stepped back again. But just as he prepared to hit the door a second time, Marissa Carter suddenly grabbed his arm. "Wait," she said. Not panicked, not frantic, just firm. For a split second, the officer looked at her, confused. "Ma'am, someone is inside," he said. But he didn't wait for an answer. He drove his shoulder into the door again. Crack. This time the frame splintered and the door burst open. Lena stumbled forward through the smoke, collapsing onto the porch as fresh air rushed into her lungs. She coughed violently while firefighters who had just arrived rushed past her into the house. The fire was quickly contained in the kitchen. Later, standing beside a patrol car, Officer Ruiz asked Marissa a simple question. "Why did you say no one else was inside?" Marissa hesitated. Then she said quietly, "I thought she had already left." But Lena knew that wasn't true. because minutes earlier her mother had looked directly at her and said 4 words, "You're not leaving." And even today, Lena still wonders the same thing. Was her mother confused in a moment of panic, or was she never supposed to make it out of that house at all?